Hey Internet, welcome back to What's the Point? Today I wanted to talk to you about Delta status. I have gotten 2 Delta business cards, the Reserve and the Platinum card, and let me show them to you right here because they are pretty cool looking. Up here. Yeah, and this bottom one is a limited edition card that I think they're still making right now as of today is July 22, 2024. And I'll have a link below in case you want to help support this channel. But when you have either of those 2 cards, you get an MQD boost. And just to catch everyone up, Delta has switched to exclusively to medallion qualifying dollars in terms of how you earn status. These 2 products, which the business flavors, as well as the 2 personal flavors, each of those, 4 in total, earn 2,500 MQDs. So if you hold all 4 of them, that would give you gold status. If you hold only 2 of them, like I do, you get automatic silver status. And in general, airline status is not something that is tremendously cared about in this space because as value seekers, there really usually is not much incentive, especially if your work isn't paying you to fly like a road warrior all the time on a particular airline so you can organically get high level status. There usually is not a very good incentive. However, because of sign up bonuses, I was encouraged to get these 2 cards. And as it happens, Amex, love it or hate it, has really increased the amount of credits that you get across all their different cards. Ironically, in the case of these Delta cards, I think it's made them much more attractive, even as an infrequent flyer, to be able to get your value back from these cards with the credits. So this video is not intended to be an in-depth review of these cards, nor is it a tutorial on what the different levels of Delta status is. Instead, I just kind of wanted to share what the process I'm going through now, whether I want to pursue gold status. And this really all came down because in order to get the sign-up bonus for this Reserve card, I had to put a lot of spend on it. Well, one of the perks that this card offers is 1 MQD per $10 spent on the card, meaning you don't have to fly Delta. That's I don't know if that's a new thing as of this year. I don't think it is, but in any case, you only get 1 per $20 spent on the Platinum card. So if you're a business with a lot of spend and you fly Delta frequently, this could be a good play. But for me, because I've already put so much spend this year, I don't need that many more MQDs potentially to hit gold status. I would, however, have to open a 3rd card. And I don't really love that idea. As it is with 2, considering that I'm not really super loyal to Delta. In fact, I've been working on American status. Check out the link below if you want to see a video I just made on that. American is actually super easy. You don't really have, well, it helps to have 1 card, especially if you're using the hotel portal, but you don't even need that. You can use the American Airlines shopping portal as well as the dining portal, and pretty quickly on sort of everyday spend and dining, build up a pretty large stash of what they call loyalty points, which is their equivalent of MQDs. And I'm flying out of SFO, which is San Francisco on the West Coast, and it's mostly a United hub. And so it's hard to get upgrades on United because of the business travelers. So I'm trying out American and their partner Alaska, which has concurrent benefits that you get with each of them if you have status on one, as well as Delta. And I had been flying Southwest a lot, but my companion pass is expiring. And so I have to decide, well, okay, you know, oftentimes the flights to where I want to go on either American or Delta can be more expensive. And in particular, I have to point out that really and consistently that Delta miles are the lowest valued miles in this game. and so take that with a grain of salt. Um, However, I was in a good position to get these sign up bonuses, these subs, as we the acronym we use in the space, and so I thought it was a reasonable opportunity to try out silver basically for free. Some flights coming up, and I have to decide: do I want to manage, at least for this year, having opening and having a third card? As of right now, the sub is not particularly high. We just had a very high one that expired, so I might wait until a little later in the year and see at that point if I can open it up. I think it takes how many? I think it's at least 6 weeks. So just kind of a word of warning on that. Don't open up a card in December if you're really hoping to get those MQDs credited for that year. I don't know if they'll retroactively apply it or not. They probably wouldn't. So I would think that if you want your MQDs to post for that calendar year, make sure that you open that Delta card no later than in October. And plus, that gives you enough time to use the Delta Stays credit, which is through Expedia or the Delta flavor of Expedia now. You can get pretty good credits, $250 on the Reserve Business and $200 on the Platinum Business. And for whatever reason, the personal flavor of those two is $50 less. Don't ask me why. So those are fairly easy to use, and they're by calendar year. So you're missing a chance to double dip if you open these up too late in the year. So something to consider. And you know, there's a lot you could say about the different tiers and how these tiers compare to other domestic carriers in terms of the benefits that you get. Um, I've been doing a lot of reading on Flyer Talk and on Reddit just to see, where is sort of the sweet spot. I think on the one hand, I've seen a lot of people say that gold is kind of the sweet spot for Delta, um, and but the one thing that I've noticed, for example, is that unlike with AA, where you only need to have platinum status, that's their second tier, or United, which I believe you only need to have their entry tier, which is silver, you get to select the main cabin extra, which is on AA. That product is called um, Economy Plus on United, and it's called Comfort Plus on Delta. For whatever reason, Delta does not allow you to reserve those seats at the time of booking unless you are the third tier, that platinum level, which you need, I believe it's 15,000 MQDs. Um, so that's a lot. 15,000 MQDs without any cards translates to $15,000 of spend on Delta. And the other thing that I've heard about Delta, because there's so many elites and because it seems like perhaps more than with other domestic carriers, there's so many of their flights concentrate through Atlanta, where from what I've read, there's an absolute deluge, an absolute glut of elite members that it's uh, the chances of getting like a first class upgrade are vanishingly small. So that all said, I don't think it's worth pursuing mid-level status, and it's certainly not worth chasing status. That's kind of my disclaimer. It just I don't see the value there of going way out of your way in terms of how much you're spending or what your travel habits are if you're in this game in order to maximize your options and your value and to use points and miles intelligently, in particular with Delta because their miles are worth less in general. They just have a lower cent per point, and it's harder to get outsized values, especially with Delta because they're purely dynamically priced. Whereas at least with United and AA, it seems like these saver level awards tend to be more common. That's generally my experience. So, that said, Delta is often regarded as being the best carrier. So it's like, are you willing to pay more for that? We'll see. So because of that, I think there's sort of two prevailing thoughts on this. One is that Delta mid-level status isn't really good enough, that you really need to have top tier status in order to get the noticeable benefit from it. We'll see. I think that flying out of SFO, I'm perhaps more likely to get upgrades. That's kind of what I want to test, especially if I'm not flying into Atlanta. So, I need to decide before the end of the year if I'm going to open up a third card. And really, the most likely way that that would play out is I would open a personal Delta Platinum card this year, get those 2,500 extra MQDs, and then at that point, because of all the spend I had to put on the reserve already this year, and I have a few Delta flights coming up, then basically I would be able to hit gold without really having to spend any more than I already am. And then all three of those cards would then start me off at 7,500 next year, which would mean I'd only have to earn an additional 2,500 MQD, which could mean 2,500 in dollars in flying Delta, which is probably more than I'm planning to. Although they do sometimes run promos where you can book through Delta Stays, or they sometimes call it Delta Travel Extras. Um, I know Delta Vacations does, but that includes a bundled rental car. I don't really like that. I don't like travel portals in general when you need to get service. So it's not something that I want to feel like I'm compelled to have to do. But if it's only maybe one or two hotel rooms to kind of catch up that gap, maintain gold, uh, I might be willing to do that if I find that the whatever the experience I have of flying with gold is noticeably better than with flying silver. I do have 3 flights coming up this year, at least, maybe one or two more on top of that, where I'll get to try silver, and then perhaps probably would be about the same number next year. Where if I do this experiment, then I would get to try gold, and then see, okay, is it really that much better my experience, not only from gold to silver, but also compared to other domestic airlines. Um, Whether I want to, maintain the responsibility of tracking all the monthly credits. And to wit, you've got monthly rideshare credit, monthly Resi credit, and the annual Delta Stays credit on each of these cards. So that would mean 3 different monthly credits times two, plus the Stays credit on top of that, and the very high annual fees. It's just kind of a lot. But that all said, I think my exit strategy here would be to cancel the business reserve and keep the 2 platinums. That might be a good happy medium, because then those 2 platinums assure me silver status without having to fly, and it's fairly low maintenance. Um, no pressure to have to fly, and if I'm going to do it once or twice a year, the benefits that I get from having that silver status would be pretty comparable to at least the benefit that I would get from a single reserve card. The reserve gives Delta Sky Club access, but you get that with the Amex Platinum anyway, which I think is, for most people in most cases, is probably a better bet overall at a similar annual fee price point. So let me know down in the comments what you think. If this is at all interesting to you, please like and subscribe so we can grow this channel. And I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. Is this a fool's errand? Am I just buying into the marketing and hype? Or is it a smart strategy play to just add on a little bit of extra effort to have access to something that normally is a more enthusiast level or casual level traveler, someone who's not getting paid by their employer to go travel, to have even access to low level, let alone mid level status, is kind of unprecedented. So let me know, is this worth it? Let me know your experience, especially if you're flying out of West Coast airports, and what the difference is with Delta, with having gold versus silver. Um, I do think that the lack of ability to reserve the Comfort Plus at time of booking with gold level is it's kind of hard to understand. I think the only reason that would be the case is because there's already so many elites that they're going to make them wait it out until you have to go on standby uh, for an upgrade within that certain window before departure. So that's what they make you do, even to get Comfort Plus. And that seems a little silly to me, when for that same tier on AA, you can just book that at the time of booking. But maybe there's just not enough inventory, and they're trying to appease all of these top level elites. So That's kind of my hypothesis. And so therefore, you could probably argue that because of that, that comparatively first or second tier status in Delta is, maybe it's not as valuable as with AA or with United. But then with Delta, they have the best on-time track record, and so far from dealing with their customer service, it seems like it could be also the best. We shall see. So thanks again, everyone. Have a safe day.